Wide Angle Conversations, DEI Talks, an initiative of Life by Design with Taruna Agarwal, raising awareness about the importance of diversity and inclusion and bringing to you insights and best practices from DEI advocates and champions. Welcome to Wide Angle Conversations, DEI Talks. We are in September 2021. I'm your host, Taruna Agarwal, and I'm in conversation with Jays Robles. Jays is the Asia Pacific Marketplace Diversity Leader for IBM. She was ranked number 16 by Involve's Global LGBT Plus Future Leaders for 2020. Jays champions inclusion in the workplace by actively influencing LGBT plus workplace inclusion strategies, policies, and programs. Jays is based in Manila, Philippines, and she's a recent mom. Congratulations, Jays. You're in a beautiful phase of life.
Definitely, with such an energetic boy in this pandemic, you can imagine the energy our household has at this point. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to Wide Angle Conversations, and we wish you all the best with your parenting and mothering. This can be a challenging time. Yeah. All right, Jay. So IBM, we know, is a stalwart and a leader in diversity and inclusion.
As early as 1953, when inclusion was not yet anything we use, our then CEO Thomas Watson Jr. enacted a non-discrimination policy on hire, regardless of race, color, or creed. That was then followed by sexual orientation, gender identity, then genetic makeup. And that core policy has bred various inclusive programs for IBM around the world. Yet we see DEI as a continuous journey and we exist to be essential in this world. So we continuously co-create with others and we are here to talk about our best practices and we seek to continuously make an impact. So like everything else in IBM, our product services or RHR are more deemed agile and user-centric.
And your role as the marketplace diversity leader reflects a focus on building customer relationships, which to me is moving a step ahead and extending DEI beyond the workplace to your customers and to society. I find this very interesting. Could you share a little bit more?
Sure. I think this role is very unique to IBM, at least to my knowledge. And what we really do is we leverage our best practices when it comes to diversity, inclusion, talent management, talent services to build and curate customer relationships for IBM. So it's really putting into practice the business case of inclusion.
What is your personal narrative for DEI and how does it align with your organization's approach to diversity and inclusion?
Thank you for asking and giving me this opportunity to tell my story. So I'm an Asian bisexual woman, an HR professional in the last decade, a DEI advocate in the last 7 years. And where this really started was when my partner and I came to a point in our lives where we wanted to build our own family. We had so many questions in mind. What route do we take? Can we adopt together? What will the surnames of our children be? And how can they be recognized as siblings in school, for example? Should we just leave the country? So many unknowns. But then we decided with so many limitations imposed to us by the society, maybe we can do something with IBM instead. So from then on, we have ventured to being active in the advocacy, helping deploy equal benefits to our LGBT plus employees and families. And in the process, realizing that all Filipinos deserve these benefits and expanding our work externally and to other communities as well. We were very privileged to have the support of our company because not everyone is lucky, as you may know. So there are areas where they need to start from the basics. What we really learned in terms of continuing this progress was understanding the power of D&I. And most will call this the business case. And while we want the world to move away from D&I, making business sense as our justification for what we want to do, the world is just not there yet, at least this side of the world. So inclusion allows us to be the very best version of us and it contributes to the business. Brands with high diversity scores shown to have been preferred by customers, for example, 83% of the time. It increases revenue from innovation, positively impacts employee retention by more than double, and the list goes on. Yet, most importantly, the best employee experience incorporates inclusion into the mix, and fulfilled employees make satisfied clients, no doubt.
Right, right. That's really wonderful. Thanks for sharing this alignment between your own story and the organization's approach towards DEI.
The conversation really needs to continue in terms of the business case and the opportunity cost of not being inclusive, because while diversity is a fact due to the difference in identities and background employees have, inclusion is the action to enable an organization to have people of diverse backgrounds belong. So equity, this is an action ensuring fair and just practices are provided to the communities that need to be of equal footing to the rest.
Right. And you said something very interesting. Diversity is given. Today, we are living in a very diverse world, right? Diversity is a given. But what we, as you said, inclusion is important. But what we are seeing around us is, as it is unfolding, is that we are really far from being inclusive, as you also just said. So, what really makes us exclude in the first place, exclude others?
I think it really stems from it, to no fault of anybody, right? It stems from our context, our background, the unconscious biases that each of us have. I mean, regardless of how woke we may say we are, I, for example, within this advocacy, we still have those biases when we encounter people. For example, when we think of an engineer, we automatically think of a certain gender that's not really coming from anything, but just the bias that you've learned from our context, right? So it's really coming from that background where we came from, and that's something that is a little hard to challenge, but we should continue to.
Yeah, we should continue create more awareness about it and just try, biases are there, but we need to kind of learn to be aware of them and not let it get in the way for us to take our decisions. Okay, so Jez, in today's environment, what are the top leadership qualities that you feel will be imperative as we move forward?
When it comes to leadership, inclusive leadership is really very important. So, when possible, I will encourage leaders to sponsor communities, sponsor ERGs or BRGs, and as a sponsor, do the following: guide them to remain essential and relevant to the company by relating DEI work to essential company goals. This will allow the network to get the support that they require from the business. Second is sponsor projects, either through funding, support, or other means. And third, use their influence to scale the work of the communities by, for example, asking your team to attend the events or organize it with them. But on a day-to-day basis, it is very crucial to demonstrate inclusive leadership by identifying as an ally, even though you're still studying what that means, right? So that identification is a commitment to learning, using inclusive language that do not exclude anybody, such as instead of asking if one has a girlfriend or a boyfriend, ask how their partner is. Instead of calling a gender diverse team guys, call them teams, folks, or whatever suitable. Finally, make it intentional to source diverse candidates. It doesn't mean you hire based on diversity, but you widen the pool and put conscious effort of finding diverse candidates with potential.
So, Jess, could you briefly take us through how IBM structured and set up their DEI in the organization?
Definitely, it all starts with the core policy. As I described earlier, there are ways of working centered to the IBMer, and at the heart of it would be our business resource groups, or some call it employee network groups. The communities that have the lived experiences who provide the feedback to a vast network of DEI professionals, including the diversity councils, for example, headed by key executives, with IBM's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer leading an organization of leaders managing programs for different communities like the women, PWDs, LGBTs, and more. The communities are further reached in different markets by DNI engagement partners. And as I stand with you today, our marketplace diversity team, making sure we are connected outside of IBM to share best practices that will benefit other organizations too. So the approach is really very holistic.
So what I'm hearing you share is that, there has to be clear structure and reporting lines. So for someone who's starting out, JS, would benchmarks and standards help in setting up their DEI practices?
Of course. I think for whoever is starting up, it's very important to know where you are and know where you want to go, wherever you are in your journey. So that may include having an open mind to listen to where you are in this journey, and really from that community of people, of your employees, find out what's your current state so you can identify where you want to go.
We are in the middle of COVID, a prolonged COVID, as you would say, and it has been a challenging time for everyone, right? What are some of the strategies that you used to support the mental well-being, motivation, and engagement of your employees during this time?
It's been very important to connect on a personal level and utilize the tools that we have as a leader in digital ways of working. As you've said, the pandemic has had tremendous impact to everyone, and it had very unique impact to different parts of the communities. Women, for example, found themselves juggling, taking care of their homes and working than their counterparts did. The LGBT plus employees who were out in the office but not at home found themselves working differently and uncomfortably. PWDs and neurodiverse individuals didn't find it easy to switch to conference calls. And so we made sure that we connected on a personal level through different means, from the simple things like having continuous conversations so folks don't feel alone, like asking them in Slack channels to share the travels that they missed, gathering for conversations about what they are thankful for, and about practical ways to stay healthy physically, emotionally, and more. Up to the extremes like really collaborating with our partners to make WebEx meetings or our mural boards more inclusive to our neurodiverse communities. Technology is very powerful if we allow it to make that positive impact.
That is true. That is true. Technology can be a really big friend, and I think we've learned that during COVID. We've really learned that, and it's yeah, and it's going to be like that with us for going forward, right? So I think what you said, it's about creating that positive employee experience, right? And you did so virtually through all the changes that you brought about. So and I'm really hearing this word, the employee experience and employee experience management.
Employee experience is something that has always been there. It's just a matter of how we want to work around it. Because an inclusive employee experience is very different from employee experience. And this is what differentiates an organization on how they will approach their diversity and inclusion programs.
Also, right now we are talking about the democratization of DEI, which is to listen to the voices of those who are impacted, right? And I think there's a lot of that happening. There is a lot of we collecting the information, but what we actually do with this listening is more important, right? And so for IBM, I know you've just done something on the LGBT plus JAM, and you created a big report, on that. So how do you use all this data and this information actually that is coming to you to further develop the inclusion and positive, inclusive experience for employees?
Right. And thank you for mentioning the jam, right? So that's just one of the series of jams that we did during the pandemic. One was on women and leadership. And the very first one was really asking our employees, how can we make working remotely work for us? And how that really made the difference is taking action on the sentiments of the employees. And for those that are external in nature, like the LGBT plus jam, summarizing that into 6 key areas that organizations can actually take to make their workplaces more inclusive. So striving for authenticity was the name of the report that I will encourage you all to read on. But it's really taking that step towards using those data. So the structure in which we operate in is very important. And as part of an HR organization, the D&I team is really part of the discussions on how we can make an impact to other parts of the organization through these data that we collect.
All right, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. And IBM being at that mature stage of DEI, what is your aspiration for DEI in the future?
Given all these experiences, it is really IBM's aspirational goal to continue growing every part of the organization through structured and data-driven approach. For us to be able to continuously identify where opportunities exist to grow in diversity and inclusion. So in other words, it's really about finding those areas where we can keep on improving and knowing that we should keep on doing so. So that's our aspiration.
It's wonderful. Thank you. And we can conclude with me, asking you one thing that organizations should start doing and one thing they should stop doing to advance DEI at whatever stage they are in.
A very bold response to a very bold question would be, I think everyone will benefit from having an open mind and by never saying that there is no problem. Because it's only through recognition that something can be done, will something get done. And it is through this that everything else follows, from seeking networks of employees who have the lived experiences to finding colleagues in the industry who have leading best practices and to actually making an impact to the experience of our employees day to day.
That's wonderful. And what is the one thing we should stop doing to really make them really move?
I think we should all stop saying that nothing is wrong, because even though where we are in our journey, there is something that we can do, something that we can improve. So be having that value of continuous growth will all move us forward.
That's right. Thank you. It's the DEI as such. We are dealing with humans and we are complex, so it's not an easy journey. But we should, as you were saying, that we have to do something about it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Is. Thank you for sharing these insights and your experience. I gained a lot, and I'm sure our audience would have also got a lot of things to think about and to put into practice. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well. And if at any point you'd like to have the conversation and continue it, we are here for you. You are not alone in your journey.
Well, thank you so much.